We've seen cases where teams perhaps have known what the trigger clause, the release clause is, when there necessarily hasn't been club-to-club contact, Mark, and so they've bid just a little bit higher to prove that they didn't know what the release clause was.
The famous one was Arsenal and Luis Suarez at Liverpool.
Yeah.
We understand it was anything over 40 million would have triggered the opportunity for the player to speak to the club, and Arsene Wenger very famously bid 40 million and £1, which was the release clause, so they were entitled to speak to the player. It never ended up happening. But yeah, and sometimes you have release clauses. For example, Neymar Jr., when he went from Barcelona to PSG, that had to be paid in full. So it was a cheque for 220 million euros on the table from PSG to La Liga. We are paying your release clause. Other release clauses, as Dharmesh alluded to, they can be unique to that particular deal. It could be 3 payments over 18 months of X, 3 equal payments. Every release clause is ever so slightly different, and it's one of those situations we try and gather as much information, but ultimately the club can do nothing if that is contractually written between the two parties. If you pay X, Y, and Z in these kind of payments, in this kind of timescale, there's nothing we can do about it.
That's the case with Matheus Cunha. So Manchester United knew it was £62.5 million, but the conditions of that release clause were they pay a third of it immediately, they pay a third of it next summer, and the summer after that they complete that £62.5 million payment over 3 instalments. Now, you said before, sometimes clubs go above the release clause, and people will say, why would you pay above the release clause? Well, sometimes clubs will try and say, you know what, we're willing to pay you, say it was £62.5 million for Cunha. I was told at the time that Manchester United were not only exploring the deal as the conditions set out that Wolves had, but they were also exploring potentially paying above £62.5 million in exchange for more favourable payment terms. Because in this world of PSR, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit more later in the show, you have that situation where the £62.5 million won't come out of Manchester United's account straight away. It will be the first instalment. So if they can spread a slightly higher payment over, say, 4 instalments, then that 20-odd million pounds that they're paying at the moment, that would be reduced per year. And that would help them per financial year in their PSR calculation.
Wow. I bet you all didn't know that you were going to become experts in
I'm finally using my economics
releases.
I did an economics degree, finally using it.
There you go.
Yeah. My brain is whirring. OK, that's all as it is. There's nothing we can do about that. We have to wait for the legal process to play out. But what does this mean in terms of Spurs now? So they want their player as soon as possible. They've got a pre-season tour to go on.
They might just have to be patient. Like Dharmesh said, you get the feeling this will happen. However, they may just have to wait a little bit longer to just clear up things legally and make sure they're in a comfortable position.
Manchester United have now put the finishing touches on the deal that will bring the Slovenian striker to the theatre of dreams. Every contract clause, bonus structure, and performance incentive has reportedly been finalised, with only the formal presentation of the player now remaining. Top-tier transfer expert Fabrizio Romano has reported this evening that the transfer is 100% complete on paper, with both clubs reaching full agreement and Sesko already aligning himself with Manchester United's future sporting plans. The trusted journalist has labelled the move as done and sealed, awaiting only the club's final reveal. Manager Ruben Amorim, who has been personally monitoring Sesko's development and progress since his Sporting Lisbon days, played a major role in convincing the player to join the United project. Amorim's vision of a fast, technical, and youthful attacking setup perfectly aligns with Sesko's profile and strengths. According to sources close to the Carrington training complex, Amorim sees Benjamin Sesko as a future focal point of Manchester United's front line, a striker with the physical dominance, finishing ability, and football IQ needed to flourish in the Premier League under his dynamic tactical approach. Leipzig were initially reluctant to let go of the young talent, but Manchester United's persistence, backed by Amorim's direct involvement and the club's long-term sporting strategy, eventually sealed the deal. The final agreement is said to be worth around £55 million, including performance bonuses and potential future add-ons. The Manchester United hierarchy has remained quiet publicly, but internal leaks suggest that media materials, official photo shoots, and Sesko's introductory interview have already been completed or are currently in production. The club's final green light for the announcement is now expected within days. Multiple trusted sources report that Sesko has successfully undergone internal fitness checks and informal medical pre-assessments ahead of the official unveiling. While a formal medical is scheduled to be conducted shortly, all indications are that this process will be a routine procedure, with no delays expected. The 21-year-old goal machine has already said his private goodbyes to Leipzig staff and teammates and is believed to have flown to the UK under low-profile arrangements in order to finalize remaining formalities ahead of the public release. His focus is now fully on life at Old Trafford.